Welcome to the Philosophy of the Soul channel. Today I want to share with you 10 life-changing lessons that can truly reshape the way you think and live. Have you ever had one of those quiet moments where you just stop and think, how did I get here? Not in a dramatic or panicked way, just a soft, reflective kind of pause. Maybe you're sipping your morning coffee, maybe you're sitting in traffic, and suddenly there's this wave of clarity or confusion. And you wonder if you're really living the life you want, or if somewhere along the way you just started going through the motions. That kind of reflection is more common than we think, especially as we reach our 30s and beyond. Life gets busy, full of responsibilities, work, family, health, bills, plans. And in the middle of all that noise, we rarely stop to ask, am I living in alignment with who I really am? That's where today's conversation begins. Because sometimes all it takes is a shift in perspective, a few life lessons that open your eyes and change the way you move through the world. What we're diving into today isn't a quick list of motivational quotes or surface-level advice. It's a real talk about 10 life lessons that can truly shift your mindset and, more importantly, your daily experience. These are things that might seem simple on the surface, but when they click, when you really feel them, they can change how you think, how you act, and how you show up for yourself and the people around you. So let's start with something that might sound a little counterintuitive, but it's often the very first breakthrough people have when they start this kind of journey. You don't have to do everything. Now that might not sound revolutionary, but pause with me here. How many times have you said yes out of guilt? How many times have you agreed to something, not because you wanted to, but because you felt like you should? We carry this invisible backpack filled with obligations, people-pleasing, and this constant pressure to be productive. And slowly, without noticing, it starts to wear us down. But here's the thing, every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something that does. That quiet evening you needed to recharge. That project you've been putting off for yourself. That space in your schedule where nothing happens, where you breathe, stretch, and just exist. Giving yourself permission to do less, on purpose, isn't laziness. It's clarity. It's living in alignment with what actually matters to you. And what's beautiful is that once you start doing this, the world doesn't fall apart. In fact, it often becomes clearer, lighter. People begin to respect your time more. You start respecting your time more. It's not about being selfish, it's about being intentional. Because when you're constantly running on empty, you can't really show up fully for anyone, not even yourself. And that leads us naturally into another big one. Your worth is not tied to your productivity. This is a tough one, especially in a world that constantly celebrates hustle. We've been taught, sometimes without even realizing it, that our value comes from how much we do, how hard we work, how many roles we juggle. But you are not a to-do list. You are not your inbox or your performance review or how clean your house is. You are not the number of hours you grind or how early you wake up. Of course, hard work matters. It's important to be reliable, to follow through. But your worth, that's a different conversation. Your worth is in your presence, your heart, your voice. It's in your ability to show kindness, to listen deeply, to laugh fully, to care, really. Care about the people around you. And none of that has anything to do with being busy. If you've ever felt guilty for resting, or like you're falling behind because you're not doing enough, I want you to hear this. Rest is not a reward you earn after burning out. It's a basic human need. Slowing down doesn't mean you're lazy. It means you're human. It means you're listening to your body, your mind, your spirit. And in that space of stillness, growth happens. Now, with that said, it's also true that sometimes we confuse rest with avoidance. We say we're resting, but deep down we're really just hiding. From fear, from decisions, from change. And that brings us to another powerful lesson. Clarity comes from action, not overthinking. Raise your hand if you've ever been stuck in analysis paralysis. That place where you're so afraid of making the wrong choice that you make no choice at all. You plan, you overthink, you research, you ask everyone else what they would do. And still you're frozen. I get it. We all want to make the right move, but life doesn't give us a guarantee. And ironically, it's not thinking that brings clarity. It's doing. You don't have to have it all figured out to take the first step. Sometimes the only way to know what works is to try something and see how it feels. Make the call, sign up for the class, have the conversation, say yes or no, and then pay attention. Learn, adjust, try again. Every small action you take gives you feedback. It teaches you about yourself. It builds confidence, even if it's messy at first. Waiting for the perfect plan is often just fear in disguise. And the truth is, we learn the most, not when things go smoothly, but when they don't. When we're out of our comfort zone, when we stumble, get up, and realize we're stronger than we thought. So stop waiting for the right moment. The moment is now. And speaking of fear, let's not ignore it, let's talk about it. Because another lesson that shifts everything is understanding this. Fear will always be there, but it doesn't have to be in charge. We tend to treat fear like a red light, a stop sign, something to obey. But fear isn't always a signal to stop. It's often a signal that you're growing, that you're stretching, that you're stepping into something new. Think about it. Some of the most important moments in your life probably came with fear. Changing careers, falling in love, saying goodbye, starting something new. What if we stop trying to get rid of fear and instead just learn to walk with it? To say, hey, I see you, you're nervous, that's okay, but we're doing this anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward with it. It's deciding that your growth is more important than your comfort. And as we sit with that idea of walking with fear rather than waiting for it to disappear, it opens the door to so many possibilities. Because if fear isn't the boss, then maybe we can actually start making decisions based on something deeper, something more aligned, something like trust or excitement or purpose. When you start making decisions from a place of purpose instead of fear, something really beautiful begins to happen. You start trusting yourself more. Not just your ability to get things done, but your inner compass. That quiet voice inside that says, this feels right, or this isn't for me. And that's where the next powerful lesson lives. You already have the answers. You just need to get quiet enough to hear them. In the chaos of daily life, it's easy to lose touch with yourself. There's always noise, other people's opinions, social media, the pressure to keep up, to stay relevant, to be on all the time. But when was the last time you just sat with yourself? No distractions, no scrolling, no background noise. It's in those quiet moments on a walk, while journaling, or even during a simple pause between errands, that the truth tends to rise to the surface. You realize what's been draining you, what you've been avoiding, what you're really craving. Not the surface level craving, but that deeper pull. Maybe it's more peace, maybe it's more connection, maybe it's just to be seen and heard for who you really are. We often look outside for answers, but the most transformative changes tend to come when we turn inward. That doesn't mean isolating yourself or overthinking. It means creating space to listen, to check in, to be radically honest with yourself. And once you start doing that, it becomes harder to pretend. You start recognizing where you've been shrinking, where you've been compromising, where you've been playing small. That awareness is a gift. It's the first step to reclaiming your power. Not power over others, but the quiet kind of power that comes from alignment, from living in a way that feels true. And once you start living more in alignment, you'll probably notice another thing. People's reactions will shift. Some will cheer you on, some won't. Which leads to the next lesson, one that's hard but so freeing once it clicks. Not everyone will understand your growth, and that's okay. When you begin to change, when you start setting boundaries, saying no, choosing rest, choosing different, you'll likely make some people uncomfortable. And not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your growth challenges their comfort zone. Maybe they liked the version of you who never said no, or the one who always put yourself last. Maybe they see your changes as a reflection of what they're not ready to face in themselves. But you're not responsible for other people's growth. You're responsible for your own. You can love people and still choose yourself. You can be kind and still walk away. You can be compassionate without shrinking back into old patterns that no longer fit you. And yes, it might hurt. There might be distance, misunderstandings, moments where you feel lonely in your truth. But I promise you, there is deep peace on the other side of honoring your growth. The kind of peace that only comes from knowing you are being real with yourself. That you are no longer shape-shifting just to make everyone else comfortable. And with that kind of clarity, with that kind of integrity, you naturally begin to attract people who see you. Not the version of you that performs or pleases, but the real you. And those relationships, they're deeper, more honest, more energizing, because they're built on truth, not performance. And that brings us to something really important, healing. Because a lot of these lessons at their core are really about healing, unlearning, releasing, forgiving. And here's the thing that often gets overlooked. Healing doesn't always look like joy and gratitude and breakthroughs. Sometimes, healing looks like being exhausted, like crying in the car, like canceling plans, like sitting in silence because you don't have the words yet. Healing is not linear, it's not neat, and it's definitely not always pretty. Sometimes we hold ourselves to this weird standard, like if I'm doing the work, I should be glowing and graceful and grateful all the time. But growth can be gritty, it can be messy and awkward and uncomfortable. And that's okay. The truth is, you're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. You're allowed to have moments of deep wisdom and moments where you still fall into old patterns. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. And in those hard moments, when it feels like nothing is shifting fast enough, or like you're slipping backward, I want you to remember something. Even small steps count. Even sitting with a hard emotion instead of pushing it away is a step. Even recognizing an old pattern is progress, even if you're still working on breaking it. The fact that you're paying attention, that you're even having this conversation with yourself, that matters more than you realize. Because the real work, it's not flashy, it's not dramatic, it's slow, quiet, steady. It's in the daily choices you make when no one's watching. It's in how gently you speak to yourself when you mess up. It's in choosing curiosity over shame again and again. And speaking of self-talk, that brings us to another lesson that changes everything once you really feel it in your bones. You are not your thoughts. Let that sink in for a second. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. This is a concept that can be life-changing once you experience it, not just intellectually, but emotionally. Because we all have that inner voice, the critic, the worrier, the one who replays that awkward conversation from 3 days ago or tells you you're not good enough or smart enough or ready. But here's the thing, just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it's true. Thoughts are like clouds in the sky. They pass, they change, they contradict each other. And most of them are based on old stories, conditioning, fear. But the moment you realize you don't have to believe every thought you think, that's the moment you get your power back. You can pause, you can question it, you can say, oh, that's an interesting thought. Is it actually true? Or is this just an old fear showing up again? This practice, this gentle awareness, isn't about becoming some perfectly zen person who never spirals. It's about creating just enough space between you and your thoughts that you get to choose your response. That space, that's where freedom lives, and once you start stepping into that space more often, life becomes less reactive and more intentional. You stop living on autopilot. You start living with presence. Once you begin living with that kind of awareness, stepping back, observing your thoughts, choosing your responses instead of reacting, it changes not just how you see the world, but how you treat yourself. And that's where the next life-changing lesson lives. Be as kind to yourself as you are to the people you love. It's amazing how naturally compassion flows when it's someone else. A friend makes a mistake and we say, it's okay, don't be so hard on yourself. A loved one is struggling and we offer patience, encouragement, softness. But when it comes to ourselves, the tone changes. We become harsher, more critical, more demanding. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned that being hard on ourselves would make us better. That self-doubt and self-judgment would keep us motivated. But all that does is chip away at your confidence, your energy, your joy. You don't become your best self through punishment. You grow through support, through understanding, through grace. Start talking to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who's trying their best. Start treating your mistakes as lessons, not character flaws. Start recognizing that you are always evolving, and you deserve patience while you grow. Truth is, no one else hears your inner dialogue. That voice you use when no one's around. It becomes the environment you live in. Make it a kind one. Make it a place where healing can happen, where mistakes are part of the process, not proof that you're failing. You're doing more right than you realize. Don't forget to give yourself credit for that. And here's something that might surprise you. One of the most transformative shifts you can make in your life doesn't involve big goals or external achievements. It's learning to enjoy the present moment. We spend so much of our lives chasing the next thing, the next milestone, the next phase. Once I get that promotion, I'll be happier. Once I lose the weight, I'll feel more confident. Once I have more time, I'll finally rest. But the problem with that mindset is there's always a new once. The goalposts keep moving. And before we know it, we've rushed through years, always reaching, never arriving. There is so much beauty in ordinary moments. A quiet morning, a meaningful conversation, a song that takes you back. A deep breath after a long day. When we're fully present, even the smallest things can feel rich and full. It doesn't mean we stop striving or growing, but it means we stop postponing our peace. It means we stop waiting for life to be perfect before we allow ourselves to enjoy it. Because life isn't lived in the big moments, it's lived in the in-between. And when you start showing up for those moments with presence and appreciation, everything begins to feel more meaningful. And maybe that's what all of these lessons really point to in the end. Choosing to live more consciously, to stop drifting, to come back to yourself again and again. Because here's the final truth I want to leave you with. The lesson that ties all the others together. You get to rewrite your story. No matter how long you've been living a certain way, no matter what habits or beliefs you've inherited, no matter how far you feel from where you want to be, you can start again, right now. You can choose a new pattern, a new perspective, a new path. Your past doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't disqualify you. You are not stuck. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are becoming. Every day is a chance to check in and ask, is this the story I want to keep telling? And if it's not, you get to turn the page. That's not about throwing everything away or starting from scratch. It's about stepping into your life with intention, with softness, with clarity. It's about choosing to grow, even when it's uncomfortable, choosing to stay open, even when it's easier to shut down. Choosing to believe that something better, truer, more aligned is possible, and that you are worthy of it. So wherever you are right now, whether you're in a season of rebuilding or just starting to ask these deeper questions, I want you to know you're not alone and you're already doing better than you think. Every small shift matters. Every conscious decision to pause, reflect, realign. That's how change happens. That's how lives transform, not overnight, but moment by moment. So give yourself credit, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and above all, keep going. If any of these lessons spoke to you today, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's something that helped shift your perspective? What's something you're still learning? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this conversation helped you feel seen or supported, go ahead and give the video a like. It really helps this content reach more people who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more honest, thoughtful content on personal growth, mindset, and living with intention. You deserve a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. Take care of yourself. You've got time. You've got power. You've got everything you need to live your best life right now, right here. Keep going. You're becoming something beautiful. If this video felt like a conversation you needed, if it gave you even one moment of clarity, comfort, or encouragement, then I hope you'll stick around. This channel is all about creating a space where we grow together. No pressure to be perfect, just real, honest reflections that meet you where you are. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Join this little community of thoughtful souls who are choosing to live with more awareness, more intention, and a little more heart. And hey, don't just watch. Be part of the conversation. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, tell me what's been on your mind. Because the best kind of growth, it happens when we do it together. Thank you for being here. Take a deep breath. You're right where you need to be, and I'll see you in the next one.